أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. We were discussing verse number 248. وقال لهم نبيهم إن آية ملكه أن يأتيكم التابوت فيه سكينة من ربكم وبقية مما ترك آل موسى وآل هارون تحمله الملائكة إن في ذلك لآية لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. Their prophet said to them, indeed the sign of his kingship shall be that the ark will come to you, bearing tranquility from your Lord, and the relics left behind by the house of Moses and the house of Aaron, borne by the angels. There is indeed a sign in that for you, should you be faithful. If you remember, we said that Banu Israel, after being defeated by the Philistines and their lands taken and their children taken as captives and slaves, they came to Samuel and asked to appoint a king for them so that they fight. And he appointed Saul, Talut, for them, and said that this is not my decision, it's Allah's appointment. إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ بَعَثَ لَكُمْ طَالُوتَ مَلِكًا. Allah has جَعَلَ لَكُمْ طَالُوتَ مَلِكًا, has made Talut as a king for you. And then they argued that Talut is not up to the job, he's not qualified, but he mentioned that there is a sign that Allah has appointed him, and the sign of his kingship, إِنَّ آيَةَ مُلْكِهِ أَن يَأْتِيَكُمُ التَّابُوتُ. The Tabut, the Ark of Covenant, which was taken by the Philistines, he said it will come back to you by itself, تَحْمِلُهُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. The angels will carry it and bring it. So no one would give it back. In the Bible it is mentioned that the Philistines actually took it back to them and brought it and left it and went. But here the Quran, of course, is very different. It says the angels will bring it. And two things that were left to this to be discussed is فيه سكينة من ربكم وبقية مما ترك آل موسى وآل هارون. There is tranquility in it from your Lord, and relics from Al Musa and Al Harun. About this Sakina, as Tabrasi says in Majmu' al-Bayan, there is disagreement among the scholars what was this Sakina mentioned here, that there is Sakina in it. فقيل إن السكينة التي كانت في ريح حفافة من الجنة. It was a sort of breeze which had some sort of sound, حفيف, from paradise. لها وجه كوجه الإنسان. It had, when it started to somehow make that breeze and bring that tranquility, it had a face like face of human being. In another hadith, it says that this shape actually had two wings, and it had the face was like the face of a cat, and it was from rubies and emeralds made by that. And it is said also that from Wahab ibn Munabbih that it was a spirit from Allah speaking to them. يُكَلِّمُهُمْ بِالْبَيَانِ. This Sakina was that. And then he says that this is what Ahlul Tafsir has said, but he says that it is not acceptable, these things. I mean, this had a face like face of human being, and especially from Abu Huraira, the hadith which says it had a face like face of a cat. The head was like a hat, and he had wings, and these are probably stories made up about this Sakina. Tranquility is something that Allah mentions in the Quran, which comes with faith. هو الذي أنزل السكينة في قلوب المؤمنين ليزدادوا إيمانا مع إيمانهم. There is when this tranquility comes to the heart, first of all, it's something which comes to the heart. It's not something that could be seen. And as Allama Tabatabai Rahmatullah says, it is actually that spirit by which Allah supports the heart of the believers. أولئك كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان وأيدهم بروح منه. Yes, it is a spirit, as some of these narrations have mentioned, but not a spirit with a face or a shape or something like that. Apparently, those who believed, when they came close to this Ark of Covenant, a type of sakina and tranquility covered them, which made their faith, enhanced their faith, made them more committed in their faith, and of course that would have given them the encouragement to go to fight. And that's why they used to take this Ark of Covenant with them in every battle, so that those who were fighting around it had this sakina always in their hearts. So whatever the Mufassirin have said about sakina is not something that we can rely upon. So that sakina was a ruh from Allah, a spirit from Allah, as it is mentioned in the Quran. أَيَّدَهُمْ بِرُوحٍ مِّنْهِ. Allah would support the heart of the believers with a spirit, which of course you cannot see, is something which goes into the heart of the believers. About بقية مما ترك آل موسى وآل هارون, it is mentioned that there were these relics where the stick of Musa, that stuff by which he of course encountered Pharaoh and made it as a serpent, and some fragments of the alwah. We know that initially the Torah was written in alwah. What those alwah were, we don't know. The tablets. وَكَتَبْنَا لَهُ فِي الْأَلْوَاحِ مَوْعِظَةً مِّن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We wrote for him in those tablets. Now, when he was in Mount Sinai, the Torah is the only book probably the only book which is written directly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran, for example, is written by human beings, it's written by companions of the Prophet, peace be on him. But the Torah is the only book written directly by Allah on the tablets on Mount Sinai and given to Musa alayhi salam. Apparently they were not of the material of stone or things like that, because Musa could very easily carry them from Mount Sinai to his people, and that means they were from a material which, as they say, had come from paradise, light but containing all those writings. Now, of course, later on Musa had it copied on paper, on papyri and things like that, and Banu Israel were carrying that. But it says that fragments of that initial alwah was in the Ark, in the Ark of Covenant. And that's why it was so important for Banu Israel. Also, about 1 kilogram of that man that they were eating while they were in the desert. أنزلنا عليكم المن والسلوى, that sort of sweet thing which Allah sent for them for breakfast. They gathered some of it, about 1 kilogram of that, and put it in that ark as a reminder that they had this miracle while they were traveling in the desert. These are the things which are said about بقية مما ترك آل موسى وآل هارون. And those things, we have in many narrations that those things still exist, and they are with the A'imma alayhimus salam. The stick of Musa and fragments of the alwah of Musa alayhi salam, they are still with A'imma alayhimus salam, or in this time with the 12th Imam, Ajalala Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Verse 249, فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ بِالْجُنُودِ قَالَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مُبْتَلِيكُمْ بِنَهَرٍ. As Saul set out with the troops, he said, Allah will test you with a stream, with a river. فمن شرب منه فليس مني ومن لم يطعمه فإنه مني. Whoever drinks from it will not belong to me, will not be with me. But those who do not drink from it will be with me, barring someone who draws a scoop with his hand. إلا من اغترف غرفة بيده. Now, here, of course, as we know, it's the style of the Quran. Doesn't go into the details of the story. It means that, okay, they accepted Talut. Talut became a king, and then he started to gather the troops. He started to summon all people who were able to fight, and the troops were formed, and they started to mobilize. When they left, فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ بِالْجُنُودِ, maybe in a matter of a year or something like that, after everything was prepared, when he set out with the troops, there were, again, when the troops were formed, the number were, of course, remarkable. That's why it says junud, not jund, not the army, the armies. The armies from every tribe of Banu Israel. They said there were about 70,000, 60, 70, or 80,000 soldiers going with him on this journey. And the point is that even after seeing the taboot and even after having all those reassurances, they started again making problems on the way. It's very hot. Why do we go now? And the heat is not tolerable. There's no water. While they were making all these sort of pretexts, as we had in Ghazwat Tabuk, the Quran also mentions the same thing about the people of Medina when they wanted to set out for Tabuk. That it's now hot. Why should we go? وَقَالُوا لَا تَنْفِرُوا فِي الْحَرِّ. Do not go in this heat. We can wait, and this is now the time of somehow sorting out our harvest, things like that. They were saying the same thing. Talut eventually said, okay, you say it's hot, you say you don't have enough water. Now I tell you one thing. Those who are for water, go for water. And those who are with me, I do not allow them to drink water. If you really want to fight for God, come with me. So he said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ مُبْتَلِيكُمْ بِنَهَرٍ. Allah is going to test your faith with a river, a stream. We come to that stream. If you drink from that stream, I don't take you with me. I don't want people all the time nagging at me. I don't want people of weak faith coming with me, fighting with these formidable troops of Jalut. I want people with commitment and strength, because it's only in that way that the help of Allah will come. We cannot win Jalut with our own strength. They are much stronger than us. We only can win them with the help of God. If we want the help of God, we need faith. And if we need, because always the Quran is very clear that if you are faithful, the help of Allah will come. If you fight with troops and numbers and those things, okay, you fight, you may win, you may lose. The help of Allah would not come. So because Talut wanted the help of Allah in this, he knew that he cannot win Jalut just in an ordinary way. He said that now I want people who really come for the sake of Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ مُبْتَلِيكُمْ بِنَهَرٍ. Allah is going to test you with a river. فَمَنْ شَرِبَ مِنْهُ فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. Whoever drinks from it is not from me. Go back. I don't want you. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَطْعَمْهُ. Whoever doesn't taste it. Is it ta'am? It's not from ta'am, it's tasting. Whoever doesn't taste even that water, doesn't even look at it, then they are with me, you come with me. Now, if you really, really cannot bear, do not drink. Just take one handful and put on your mouth and drink only that one, not fully satisfying yourself with that drink, I take you in that situation. Why he actually made this suggestion? Because later on he wanted to show that who's the faithful, who's the weak in faith. So he says, فَمَنْ شَرَبَ مِنْهُ فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي وَمَنْ لَمْ يَطْعَمْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي إِلَّا مَنْ اخْتَرَفَ غُرْفَةً بِيَدِهِ. Now, again, the details of the story is not mentioned in the Quran. Some say where this river was. Was it between Jordan and Palestine? Was it a river in Palestine? Because they were going to fight with Philistines. And the Quran says that فَشَرَبُوا مِنْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُمْ. All of them drank. Just a small number didn't. And this was a test because they came to Talut, to Samuel. They said, we want a king to fight, and we want to fight in the way of Allah. وَمَا لَنَا أَلَّا نُقَاتِلَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. We want to fight in the way of Allah. Talut told them, you are not the man to fight in the way of Allah. Yes, you may come to fight for other purposes, but in the way of Allah, you are not the man, so go back. They say that in many narrations we have that إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِّنْهُمْ, but a small number of them. They said that the 60,000 men actually drank from the water, except 313 men. This is a report from Abu Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam. The number of the people of the Battle of Badr, except these about 300 people. All of them drank, and actually Talut didn't take them with him. Only he took that small number. As I said, he wanted victory from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not with the help of this number. Because no matter how strong, how numerous the troops were, they could not stand against Jalut. Jalut was very, very strong. As when they saw Jalut and his troops, they said, قَالُوا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا الْيَوْمَ بِجَالُوتَ وَجُنُودِهِ. Look at the armies of Jalut. How can we fight against them? Now here, the Quran actually says that they became three groups. One group who drank, and Talut said, I don't take you with me. One group who didn't drink at all, لَمْ يَطْعَمْهُ, and these were actually the core troops of Talut. The others were those who just took one handful and drank. And later on, we don't know what number this third group were. Later on, when they saw the troops of Jalut, they said that we cannot fight. Actually, the test here showed itself. He said, do not drink anything, come with me. And of course, Talut was quite aware it was hurting, the thirst was hurting, all these things, but he wanted to test the commitment of the people. And this third group who drank one handful, and Talut take them with him. We don't know what number they were. When they saw the troops of Jalut, they said, we cannot fight. قَالُوا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا الْيَوْمَ بِجَالُوتَ وَجُنُودِهِ. However, they were good for showing the numbers. They were good for showing the numbers because they had some commitment, at least not like the other 60,000 who drank from the water. فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَهُ هُوَ, and when he and those who believed with him, فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَهُ هُوَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ قَالُوا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا الْيَوْمَ بِجَالُوتَ وَجُنُودِهِ. Of course, those who did not drink at all, they didn't say that. Those who had taken that handful of water, they said, today there is no way we can actually have power against Jalut and his Junud. Again, it said Junud because the number were maybe several hundred thousands of of troops. قالوا لا طاقة لنا اليوم بجالوت وجنوده. Now, those 300 and something, قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله. Those who had this then that they will meet Allah. Here we have two meanings for this, two probable meanings. First of all, those who had then has two meanings, absolute opposite meanings. One meaning is certainty, one meaning is a knowledge with uncertainty. Then, so has these two meanings. Wherever in the Quran is used about meeting Allah, Day of Judgment, it means yaqeen, it means certainty. So it may mean قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو ربهم قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله, those who were certain about the Day of Judgment, certain that they are going to meet the Lord. The other meaning may be than here may mean a knowledge with uncertainty, but they were almost certain that they are going to be killed and martyred in this battle. They had actually came for martyrdom. قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله means in this battle, that's the end. They had come with that commitment, they wanted to fight until they achieve martyrdom. قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله. How many a time small number of people overcame a huge number of people with the permission of Allah. Here, that وَمَن نَصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ, victory is only from Allah, only works here with committed Muslims, committed people, not with nominal Muslims. Sometimes we say, okay, Muslims are fighting kuffar, why they do not win? Well, they are like those 60,000 people who drank from water, isn't it? This is a very beautiful and very wise story telling us how the victory comes. The victory doesn't come because your name is Muslim, your name is Jew or whatever. The victory comes because of your hearts. Here, these people didn't say, yes, theologically, it is possible that Allah will give us victory because we are, for example, committed Jews. No, they said that look back into the history. In history, we have many instances of how a small number of people overcame and defeated huge number of people. So they didn't talk theoretically, they talked based on past examples. قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله. Here, إذن الله means أمر الله. When the command of God comes for victory, of course, the numbers are not important. And we know actually no battle took place there. It was only Dawood killing Jalut. That's all. There were some skirmishes, small battles, but as soon as Jalut was killed by Dawood, then the troops ran away and escaped, and they became victorious. This was, of course, certainly a nasr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, victory from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين. Allah is always with the patient. These people were patient. The core number of these 300 and something, they were patient, not drinking from that river. They actually took upon themselves that very strong and hurting thirst. They came here with that attitude and that state of mind and physical status. And then, because of their patience, Allah helped them, and because of course the patience in the battlefield. Wallahu ma'as sabirin. What the story tells us, as Allama Tabatabai says here, is that the number who failed, the 60,000 troops, they were actually not important in the battle at all, even if they came, especially because of their on their different motives they came. They would have stopped the victory of God, Allah to come. It was this very core of the believers who somehow pulled down the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His help. Otherwise, the troops would have come because of their different motives. They would have barred the help of Allah coming down to them. And also, you never win a battle because your name is Muslim. You never win a battle because you are from a certain community or certain ummah. It's not the case. Allah sends help to real believers, those who are believers in the heart, not by name or by title. And these people, these committed people who did not drink at all, وَلَمَّا بَرَزُوا لِجَالُوتَ وَجُنُودِهِ. So when they march out to encounter Goliath and his troops, قَالُوا رَبَّنَا أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا. Our Lord, pour patience upon us. Means that we are not going to run away. We are going to be firm here fighting until our death. So you give us patience in this. Give us firmness. Ifragh means to actually pour molten metal into the mold. And here's a very beautiful thing. It means patience is like a molten metal. You pour it in our heart so that our heart becomes strong. Afrigh alayna sabran wa thabbit aqdamana. And make our feet steady. وَانْصُرْنَا عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ. And assist us against the faithless lot. And it is only in this way that Allah says, فَحَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. This إِذْنُ or Amrullah came because of these people who had this attitude, and they could defeat Goliath with all his troops and with all his strength. Inshallah, we leave that for our next session. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. We have about 15-20 minutes to further discussion, resolve any queries.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Sheikh, these tablets or Torah that came to Musa directly from Allah, what exactly is it? Because sometimes we've heard that these are 10 commandments, which is a very small number. And then other times we've heard this is the whole of Torah, which is a big book. And is that exactly the same as the Old Testament today, or is that very different?
No, Old Testament consists of Torah and many, many other books. So we are talking about Torah. However, Torah also have certain details which is quite suspicious if it belongs to what Allah wrote. Like, for example, how you should make the tent of covenant, the tent of congregation, and who should do it with what material, and such details about the tribes, things like that. It was certainly more than 10 commandments. 10 commandments, of course, is very short. Because Allah says, كَتَبْنَا لَهُ فِي الْأَلْوَاحِ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مَوْعِظَةً وَتَفْصِيلًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. It was details about everything that they have to do. So it should have been much more than that. But not as much as what we find in the Torah, in those 5 books, the beginning books of the Old Testament. It's not as detailed as that. It wasn't as detailed as that.
Thank you. Any sisters? Any brother? Yep.
Thank you. In our Shia belief, we on the Day of Judgment we will not be able to see Allah. But you mentioned in the Quran that we will meet Allah on the Day of Judgment. What can you explain more on that?
Meeting is different than seeing. You see, yes, what is impossible ever is seeing Allah by eyes. But meeting may happen in many different ways. And some people say meeting with Allah is when we move from this world to the next world. This is meeting with Allah because we go to a higher realm, a realm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Apparently, this is more than that. On the Day of Judgment, when it says, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا, your Lord and the angels will come. And the angels will be in ranks and lines in the respect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is like, for example, a manifestation of Allah to the heart and soul of the people, not only believers, that is like meeting Him, like meeting with Him. As I said, it doesn't mean seeing. And in our ordinary language, for example, you will meet your fate, for example. You will meet your destiny. That meeting is very much different from what we call vision or seeing, things like that. It's like this sort of meeting that we are talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any sisters?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Is the believer musayyar or mukhayyar? Is he told, directed in a certain direction, or is he go about things as he believes? The reason that I'm asking this question, in previous lives, in other religion life, people were told to do certain things and not to do other things. In our world, we don't have any more prophets, we don't have any more religion. Our only compass, moral compass, is what I have been taught, what I can read, what I can understand, and that will be my direction, that will be my beacon. So what are the indications along my life that tell me that this is the right things and this is the things? I just wanted to get an understanding of, I understand that at times where you will have angel come to you and give you some directions without knowing that, but when you do that actions and you see that action right through, yeah, there was things behind it, and you get that kind of meaning and you start to build up on that one. Just need a bit more expansion on that. I know it's a bit detailed question, but
You mean who guides our hearts? This is what you mean in this situation where, for example, there's no prophet or
it's heart and our mind actually. I just, there are times where you get puzzled and lack of directions, and it takes a bit moment. I mean, it depends on the belief, depends on the strength of the person and so on. And then you'll see the light through the tunnel, if you like, or through the path. But what other things one can rely on and say, yeah, I'm doing this, this is the right things. In other words, almost getting some help from elsewhere, if you see what I'm trying to say.
You know, when we talk about hidayah, first of all, hidayah only comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all the messengers are just means for it, isn't it? So, قُلْ إِنَّ هُدَى اللَّهِ هُوَ الْهُدَى. It's only the guidance of Allah which is the guidance, none else. Now, guidance has two meanings. One is, as they call it, إِرَاءَةُ الطَّرِيقِ, showing the way. And the other other one is al-isalu ila al-matlub, taking you to the destination. For example, when you ask someone an address, they may give you the direction. This is ira'atu tariq. They show you how to go. The other one is that when they take you there, they say, okay, come, I take you there. This is al-isalu ila al-matlub. Now, both these guidance comes from Allah. The first one is when He sends messengers. Inna alayna al-huda. Guidance is my duty. I send it to you. And whether we accept or we reject, it is our choice. It's very clear. Messengers come, some people accept what they say, some people reject what they say. So, ira'atu tariq, showing the way, is general. Allah gives to everyone. Now, Al-Isalu ila al-matlub, taking them to the destination, is only for those who accept this tariq, this way. After I believe what a messenger says, I believe in the Quran, then Allah takes my heart, if I submit my heart, takes my heart through this path in a very nice way to take me to the destination. And this is when Allah says, يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيُضِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. He guides anyone He wishes. He misguides anyone He wishes. He misguides only those who reject. He guides those who accept, because they actually put their hearts at His disposal. Okay, do whatever you want, take me. And this one is not in our control. He does it. More committed we become in that path that He has shown, more guidance He take us through in our heart. That's why after we all have faith and believe in the Quran and the Messenger, every day we say, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, guide us to the right path. Guide us, well, the guidance is already there, isn't it? That al-isalu ila al-mad, that's what we want. Take our heart to that destination that you have destined for us. So a believer, as the faith increases, the guidance of Allah finds better place to work in his heart. Someone who doesn't believe at all, of course, they are just left to themselves. Allah would not guide them. قُلْ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. This is a very clear verse in the Quran, and I wonder why some people are confused about Allah guides whoever He wishes and misguides whoever He wishes. It's very clear. You believe, Allah guides you. You do not believe, Allah doesn't guide you. And He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. Those who do not believe in ayatullah, لَا يَهْدِيهِمُ اللَّهِ. Allah would not guide them. It's very clear. Those who, the opposite is those who believe in ayatullah, Allah will guide them. Is that clear?
Thank you. Any sisters? Yeah, no?
Assalamu alaikum. Going on from this hidayat and then the shifaat or being shafi. So how these things go together?
Shafa'ah on the Day of Judgment is the other face of hidayah. You have actually taken the guidance, but you are short of that quality which takes you to paradise because of certain things that we have done. Because that hidayah is not complete here in this world. We haven't taken that hidayah completely. Then we had an accepting heart. We accepted, we wanted, but we didn't. Then the shafa'ah comes and helps. It's a final sort of lifeline that Allah gives. It's Allah who gives this. قُلْ لِلَّهِ الشَّفَاعَةُ جَمِيعًا. Shafa'ah is only for Allah. Then He makes some people to actually somehow make it happen. Like, for example, Anbiya or Awliya, they make it happen. Otherwise, they are just means of shafa'ah. It's not something that they can do by themselves. Allah brings this lifeline at the end to those who were guided. They accepted the guidance, but their faith was not complete yet. He makes it for them, makes up for them in the other world.
Thank you. Any sisters?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. You mentioned that humans wrote the Quran. I was just wondering who were these humans that wrote the Quran?
Well, the companions of the Prophet. There was, if you want to name, Imam Ali alayhi salam wrote the Quran. Ubay ibn Ka'b wrote the Quran. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud wrote the Quran. These were who actually wrote the whole Quran completely. And later on, at the time of the third caliph, all the companions agreed to somehow standardize all these writings in one standard sort of copy, which they called it Nuskhatul Imam, the leading copy of the Quran. So it was the compilation of the Quran. We know that it was done by human beings, by companions of the Prophet. Even Prophet himself didn't write the Quran. The companions, of course, he had appointed certain people to write everything which was revealed. So on the day of his demise, the whole Quran was actually written down by those people whom he had appointed. And then later on it was bound as a book.
Okay, but were these individuals ma'sumin? Because wouldn't there be space for human error when writing the verses?
There were, of course, but they checked it with Prophet all the time. And Prophet looked into whatever they had written. And also after their collective effort, I mean, all of them coming together, and at the time of the third caliph, the big actually masters of the Quran, like Ubay ibn Ka'b, like others, they came together and made that the standard copy, which was approved by Imam Ali alayhi salam as well. So there's no doubt that, anyone reading the history of how the Quran was written and compiled, there would remain no speck of doubt that it is exactly what was revealed. However, there was one problem, and that was that the Kufic script didn't have diacritical marks, fatha, kasra, zamma, and therefore later on people who recited it, they remembered it a bit differently. This is why the variant qira'at came about, variant types of readings. For example, some people would read ilayhi turja'un, some said ilayhi yurja'un because there was no dots. These were the remembrance of those companions who had compiled the Quran.
Thank you. Any brother?
And by the way, the Torah which was written by Allah was distorted, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, the Torah, the Quran which was written by human beings was preserved.
Shaykh, when you're talking about guidance, and there seem to be three factors here. Allah guides, Allah withholds His guidance, and there's a third one, He misguides, which is a rather more active process. Can you explain that one?
Yeah, misguidance is when people do evil, and Allah drives them further back. It's very clearly mentioned in Surah Al-Layl, which says, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَخْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. Your actions are different. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى. The one who gives and fears and confirms the good promise of Allah. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. We make good acts, we make the path to paradise easy for them, because everything is coming from their heart is accepting, everything would be easy. وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخَلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى. Those who withhold, and those who do not feel any need in the help of Allah. وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى. And deny the good promise. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْأُسْرَى. We make things difficult for them, because they have to go through that difficult path if they want to go to destination to purify. And that's Allah's misguidance. Misguidance is... Now, some exegetes and commentators and theologians say that there is no misguidance here, it's just withholding guidance. Misguidance means withholding guidance. And their justification is that when Allah doesn't guide you, you are certainly naturally misguided. However, I think there is an active sort of role of Allah in keeping people at bay who are evil. He doesn't want to go close to Him. So because evil never gets close to Him, this is the meaning of misguidance.
So I was thinking, and I want to clarify with you, that it is shaitan who misguides. But it's Allah who created shaitan, allows him to exist and allows him to function. No, so Allah is taking ownership of that, saying, look...
Shaitan just whisper, it's just an instrument. Shaitan It's just answer. Even prophets, they do not guide. They are just instruments, isn't it? They are means of guidance. And shaitan is means of misguidance. Everything is only done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you. Any sisters?
Assalamu alaikum. There's always a question comes up, whether it's from our own generations, youngsters, or they're like non-believers or like other religions. They always ask and say, how sure are you about the Quran, what the Quran says? So I always refer back to the ayah, وَإِنَّا نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. So is this the confirm of, the confirmed ayah in the Quran that mentions that the Quran has, like, it's been revealed and is always
Protected by God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is good for believers. I mean, someone who doesn't believe in the Quran, you cannot mention this verse saying that Allah says, I protect the Quran. They say this is again part of the Quran, isn't it? Yeah. So this is good for believers. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Still, some believers have actually shown doubt about that, saying that, what does that mean? For example, the Akhbaris among the Shia, who believe that Quran is somehow not distorted, but some parts of it have been lost. The Akhbaris, they say that 2/3 of the Quran is lost, for example, which talks about A'imma and such things. And when they talk about this verse, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ, means إِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ عِنْدَ وَلِيِّنَا. Yes, it is protected with the Imam alayhi salam. The Imam knows it, for example, which is of course a sort of very bland justification. But as I said, the firmest proof that the Quran is not changed at all, or nothing of it is all intact, is if we go to the history and see how it was compiled, how it was put together as a book, how those companions of the Prophet who spent all their lives to memorize, to know, to write, to sort of check it with the Prophet, peace be on him, how they put all their effort, all their life to actually write it down, preserve it, teach it to the people. And the interesting thing is that nothing has been found yet in any sort of relics, books, findings, which shows a piece of the Quran which could have been lost, not been part of this book. And the copies of the book, which were made at the time of the third caliph and sent to different cities, they were available until 8th, 9th centuries. Of course, those copies, because they didn't have marks, gradually lost their point of reference. Other Quran which were written from them but had critical marks, dots, they became quite prevalent. And you see, this book is now absolutely the same as what was revealed to the Prophet.
Thank you. Any other brothers, sisters?
Sheikh, the story that we read today, Battle of Badr, another example, to be living at that time, to be witnessing at that time, is surely very impactful, isn't it? To be able to see. In the modern, some of the people here are too young, but in the modern day, the 2006 Hezbollah victory over Israel was definitely impactful in terms of raising my iman at least one step higher.
MashaAllah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other last one, brother or sister? Any? Yeah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, ya Shaykh. This might be more of a school type question, very, very basic. I'd like to know that Prophet Dawood was the one who brought victory. Why do you still call Talut fighting Jalut? Because I think if he's a prophet, he might be the commander, or that was one thing which came to my mind. The other thing is if...
So what was the first question?
The first question is if there was
Dawood killed Jalut.
if he was the prophet, as far as we hold Prophet Dawood much on a higher pedestal than we would hold Talut.
Well, at that time, I may forget the question. At that time, Dawood was a very young man, maybe a teenager actually, who was a soldier in the army of Talut. And Talut himself was probably a prophet, because when he says, "Inna Allah mubtalikum binahar," Allah is testing you with a river. It means that he had some revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So Dawood was at that time was only a soldier in the army of Talut. One of those who didn't drink and came with him. Yeah.
So therefore he was following Talut, he was under him.
He was under him.
Dawood.
Of course, I mean he was under him, but later on grew bigger than Talut, isn't it?
The other thing which came to my mind, the other question was, being such a large army, it must have been very organized, I'm sure, I have a feeling. By just one person being killed, I don't understand how that brought victory. I don't know, that's part of history.
Just like in Khandaq, when Amr ibn Abdawad was killed by Imam Ali, the battle finished. They all went back, because Jalut was invincible. I mean, he could just single-handedly kill 1,000 men in the battle. So when he was killed by this young boy, then they thought that, wow, if this young boy kills Jalut, how are we going to defeat this army? Sometimes the morale of an army, I mean, because Jalut was the king, the commander, and all these things, when he was killed in the first round of battle, of course, they dispersed and went back.
I was thinking of plan B, that Jalut had an assistant or assistant commander who would...
Yes, but in those days, you know that battles were more dependent on individual physical power. Like that Amr ibn Abdawad, they say that he could, I mean, hundreds of men could not stand him in battle. And when he was in an army, the army would have won, certainly. And when he was killed by a young man, Imam Ali was 23 years old at that time, isn't it? They thought there is no chance for winning, so they went back. The same thing happened here.
Mashkoor, jazakallah.
Thank you. Any sisters?
Assalamu alaikum. Just building on the point about the guidance and lack of guidance, because one of the other ayats in the Quran which confuses me sometimes is when it says that that he set a seal upon their hearts, and in the same fashion, I've always wondered why would he do that? Like even if someone's rejected it, wouldn't he want to continue to send them guidance and continue to sort of encourage them to try and find the right path, rather than it being once you've rejected it, okay, like it becomes harder and harder.
No, it's not just once rejecting, it's continuous active fighting against it, which makes the hearts to be sealed. Not ordinary disbelievers, Allah sealed the heart, never. Or someone, for example, who commits a couple of sins, Allah would seal their no. In Surah Mu'min, or Mu'min al Fir'aun 40, it says, كَذَلِكَ يَطْبَعُ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ قَلْبِ مُتَكَبِّرٍ جَبَّارٍ. If someone is mutakabbir and jabbar, compelling, arrogant, like Fir'aun, he says, we completely sealed his heart because of what he was doing. Now, look what he did. Before Musa was born, he killed all the newborns, okay? He was suppressing and oppressing Banu Israel. He was doing all sorts of mischief. Musa came to guide him. He rejected him. Musa insisted, as he was his father, stepfather anyhow, father, please believe. And after he did all that mischief, Allah says that then we sealed his heart. There's no way for him to come back. In effect, it happens like this, as we have in hadith, that when someone does evil, a black spot appears on the heart. And then when the evil grows, that spot grows until it covers all the heart, and then it's sealed.
Thank you, Manaj Singh. I will have to finish up here because we have overrun our